give a quick introduction. The subject matter itself is quite vast, but let me see how much justice. Start with the prayer, then we can. Ishvaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Okay, so we'll start with the Vedic epistemology. Knowledge itself has two characteristics according to our Shastra. Means there are cognitions are there because we have sensory perception, or even otherwise inferentially also we cognize many things. So the cognition itself can be a direct cognition through your senses, or based on sensory data we are doing a lot of sophisticated inference nowadays. All of that is cognition. But for it to be valid, first it should be anadhigatam, we say. Means it should not be something which you are knowing again, or it's like a recollection. It's not memory. So basically by saying anadhigatam, we are ruling it out that it's not just a recollection of something you have already known. But more importantly, this abadhitam is the main characteristic. That means a cognition should not be negated by another cognition which is more powerful, let us say, because I can see a mirage water. When I see that it looks like real water, correct? That cognition is valid at that time. But when I go near to drink the water, there is no water at all, there is nothing there. So then I know that that original cognition is actually only a mirage, and this is the correct cognition. Because, or you can give many other things like that, correct? Even earth is flat, because at a scale everything looks flat, but if you go up then it's a sphere, let us say. Or even sky is blue, like this. So many cognitions are there. If a cognition is not negated, then it is knowledge. If it is negated, then it becomes error. But more importantly, we have another concept associated with knowledge called self-validity of knowledge. In Sanskritam we say it as swatah pramanyam. That means every cognition is valid till it is negated. If it is not negated, then it is valid only. All cognitions are valid to start with. And if it is never negated, then it is valid knowledge only. Why this is important? Because if you say you require another cognition to validate one cognition, then you are going to go into infinite regress, correct? Because then the other cognition also you have to validate. It's an endless thing. And our practical life also will come to a standstill, correct? You cannot then decide if something is valid and what will you do then. So even from our own experience, all of us take all our cognitions as valid, and we do transactions based on that. If something is negated, then we know it is error. Then we correct ourselves, correct? That's how life proceeds in the transactional world. So this particular concept may look very innocuous to you, that swatah pramanyam means every cognition is self-valid. But it has very, very big implications, as we will see, okay? Both this abadhitam, even anadhigatam is important in one way, certain way. Why I'll tell you, particularly with reference to the Veda. And this swatah pramanyam also is a very important concept for us. That all cognition is valid by itself. You don't have to validate it. Only for negation, we require another cognition which itself is self-valid. So there also you don't have any infinite regress, correct? So that way, this is something I just wanted to present to you initially. Error means, of course, something which is negated is error. Like you see snake on rope, then once you see the rope correctly, snake becomes negated. So basically, error means it will require another cognition to be made invalid. That's why error is called parataha apramanyam. In Sanskritam it is called parataha apramanyam, means to make something invalid, you require one more cognition. That is parataha, another. But for something to be valid, you don't require anything. It is valid by itself. This is the idea. And error, how do you cognize something which is erroneous? Because it's an appearance, correct? Later on, you know that it was never there. Even while you are seeing it, it was not actually there. But you saw it, it appeared. Perception we are not denying. So that's why we say ignorance, or in Sanskritam it is called avidya or ajnanam, itself is the cause of erroneous perception. In fact, there is lot of literature on this ajnanam and avidya itself, lot of discussion. And the idea here is this avidya or ajnanam covers, right? It covers the reality, but not only it covers, it also projects something else. So there is a covering, there is also a projection. So that projection only we are cognizing as the erroneous, whatever erroneous cognition that we have, is the projection due to avidya. So this also is an important thing. This explaining this erroneous cognition, there are books upon books traditionally, let me tell you, it is called Khyati-vada. How one sees this error and what different people give explanation about that. We can go on and on, but right now this much is only an introduction. So error is that which is negated is error. That's all. If we understand that, that is good enough. Then another very important thing is means of knowledge. Because knowledge means there is a knower, there is a known object. Then how does the knower know the object? There is in between some means of or instrument has to be there. And what are the instruments of knowledge or means of knowledge which are traditionally accepted? In fact, in India, the debate when it happens between two people, first they have to agree upon the means of knowledge itself. Because I cannot say I am a Vedantin, the Veda is saying this. Then the Buddhist will say I don't accept Veda itself. Then you cannot argue with the Buddhist saying that Veda is saying something, correct? He doesn't even accept the authority of the Veda. So then, what are the pramanas which commonly we agree? Based on that only any debate or any argument itself can take place, correct? So this is one of the things, first you have to agree, even if you are having some disagreement with somebody, on what basis we are going to argue about it? What are all the things which you consider as valid? So in this way, everybody accepts sensory perception, correct? That is the basis. So we say Charvaka in our traditional knowledge, Charvaka means the materialist. So Charvaka accepts Pratyaksha, or only Pratyaksha. Some people say Charvaka don't even accept Anumana because they say it can mislead. But this Anumana or inference also now most people accept, correct? All scientists are really only working with, I will say, enhanced perception, correct? Because we now have microscope, telescope and all that. So at one level you are having radio telescope and all that, and another level we are having electron microscope and all those things. So we have now enhanced perception, and our inference also is very sophisticated, you can say now. So these two only, most scientists are working with these two as only the means of knowledge. So to a scientist you cannot go and say Veda is saying this. They will also say, I don't accept. What is this Veda? So we don't have to even talk to them about that. But we should be clear about what each people, what they accept as valid means of knowledge. We also consider comparison also as a valid means of knowledge traditionally. This also can be accepted by most people, because by comparing two things also we learn certain things, or this is like that. Why this is counted separately is because it is not really an inference which has some, because inference means it has to be based on some invariable concomitance. like we say that I see smoke, there is fire, means already I should have established the invariable concomitance between fire and smoke. And then later on, if I see a smoke, I can say there is fire and all that, correct? But comparison is not like that. So comparison is actually counted as another means of knowledge by itself, because knowing something is similar to another itself is a kind of knowledge. Then traditionally we have another thing called arthapatti, which can be included in anumana or inference, or you can call it two-step inference, or in most Indian philosophy books they call it presumption. I myself don't know what the word presumption means in English, or maybe they are using it as a jargon here. But that in Sanskritam, arthapatti is defined as anyatha anupapatti. Anyatha anupapatti means otherwise it is not possible. So arthapatti also they don't include in anumana, because here it is slightly different. There you see two things, two cognitions are there, but they look contradictory to each other. So how do you reconcile that? You say these two things are not possible unless this is possible, correct? This kind of an inference or deduction is called arthapatti. The traditional example is that they give pino devadattaha dine na bhunte. They say means fat devadatta does not eat during the day. So devadatta is fat is one cognition. Devadatta does not eat during the day is another cognition. Then what do you infer? He must be eating at night, correct? Otherwise it is not possible to maintain the weight. So that is what is called arthapatti. Otherwise it is not possible, or anyatha anupapatti. Of course, like I said, many people include this into anumana also, but again here there are arguments why you should not include it here. You have to count it separately, because it is a different type of inference. Again, it's not based on invariable concomitance, at least. Then another very interesting thing in our tradition is this anupalabdhi, means cognition of absence is counted as a separate means of knowledge. Why? Because many people include this into perception. But what our people argue is perception can only show you existence. You see only the table, correct? I say there is no part on the table, but you are not seeing non-part on the table, correct? You are only seeing the table. The part is there only in your mind, correct? You are bringing any object for that matter, you can bring in your mind and say it is not on the table. Means that is a separate mental activity or a modification. It is not the same as sensory perception can only reveal what is there. The absence has to be, again, anupalabdhi means it is not only non-cognition alone also will not say it is not there. You have some other conditions also may have to be fulfilled, correct? Because it may be dark, there is no light, then also there is non-cognition. Can you then say that something is not there? So, given the current condition, it is reasonable that if the pot is there, I must have seen it. Since I am not seeing the pot now, that since table alone is visible, therefore I can say pot is not there. Is that clear? This much is going on behind a simple statement that I am cognizing the absence of pot. So that is counted separately because it involves more work in your mind. Okay, so that is cognition of absence is not simple perception, or it is not counted under just sense perception. So these five are there. No controversy. Even all scientists can accept this, I think. But then here also we have one more means of knowledge called words. Correct, shabda. So words, when we say shabda, also there is no big controversy, because in general we say apta vakyam, like that. Shabda means some words from a reliable source. Whoever you consider as a reliable source, if they say something to you with words, you accept that, correct? Somebody, you have never gone to Himalayas, let us say, and somebody comes and says, okay, Himalayas is like this, like that, and all that. Indirect knowledge, but you accept, yeah, this is the truth. But specifically, in the tradition, the words of the Veda are considered to be valid means of knowledge. Okay, not only words, because the Veda is considered to be the most reliable source that way. That's why even in many Indian languages, you say something, then they can retort. They'll say that, are you, is you are saying Vedavak or what? Like that, there are sayings are there, correct? So, or nowadays we say, is it gospel truth and all, something like that. So here again the word Shabda can also mean generally any word from a reliable source, or in particular the Veda Vakyas are taken as valid means of knowledge. Now this again has lot of implications, we'll see that. So that is where we have to now ask whether we can say the Veda is scientific. All this word scientific itself is used very loosely, I said, because people are confused between validity and scientific. They think that by saying the Veda is scientific, they are validating it. But actually, Veda does not require any validation from science. In fact, like I said, all knowledge is self-valid, correct? Unless you can negate it. So why do you even require any validation? We don't really require any validation. In fact, it cannot be validated also. So let us see traditionally how we look at the Veda. Veda is looked upon as an independent means of knowledge. Okay. Of course, it is revealed. We don't know. Even the rishis are not supposed to be the authors of the Veda. There are no authors for the Veda. They are all only revealed. They only received it like that. That's how it is said. Okay. So it's called Apaurushaya. Means it is not from any one person's intellect. That is the understanding, and it is coming in a oral tradition there onwards. And the more important thing is, the Veda is supposed to reveal to us whatever is not available through perception and inference. Okay, that is the traditional understanding. Means something which you cannot know through your sense perception and inference, that alone makes the Veda really a Veda. Okay. In fact, it is said in the Rigveda Bhashya Bhumika. Sayanacharya has written Rigveda Bhashya, commentary on the Rigveda. In his commentary, in the introduction only, what he says this Pratyakshena Anumityava Yastu Upayona Buddhyate Yetam Vidanti Vedena Tasmad Vedasya Vedata. Means what? That whatever is not available through Pratyaksha, sense perception, or inference, that alone is revealed through the Veda. Why this is very important? Because if you can know through Pratyaksha and inference, you can know through that only, correct? Why do you require the Veda for that? You don't require the Veda as an independent means of knowledge, because the Anadhigatam and Abhaditam characteristics of knowledge also applies to the means of knowledge. Means, the implication is that a means of knowledge also should reveal to you something unique. Then only it is really a useful means of knowledge. Otherwise, it is only restating, they say. Otherwise, it is called Anuvada. Anuvada means you are repeating. It's not useful really. If you are repeating whatever is already known or already knowable also, it's not very useful to us. So, for the Veda to be a valid means of knowledge traditionally, it has to reveal to me a unique field of knowledge which is otherwise not available to me through my own sense perceptions and inference. Now immediately you will ask, what is the validity or proof for whatever the Veda is saying? That's why I already said knowledge is self-valid. You cannot ask for any proof. You try to negate at least. If you are not able to negate it, and if you accept the Veda as a valid means of knowledge, then you have to accept it as valid knowledge, correct? That is how it is looked upon. So, that is why I say science itself is enhanced perception. I already told this, correct? So, Veda cannot be scientific in fact. By definition only, it is not scientific and it should not be scientific also. That's how we look at it. Otherwise, I won't have to study the Veda, right? I can go to any university and study science and all that. Why should it be scientific? So that way, it is not really scientific. Even if we come to the scientific methodology and all that we say, correct? Hypothesis, falsifiability of the hypothesis, experimental validation, all these things again does not apply to Veda. Strictly it is not scientific, correct? It is only some revealed knowledge. Of course, if you use any means of knowledge, you know whether it works or not. For example, eyes are seeing color. Now, how do you know this is orange? You tell me you are saying it is orange. Eyes are seeing. Is there any other proof for this color that this shirt is orange? Eyes only can say it is orange, correct? Eyes are revealing to you it is orange. But can the ear come and prove that it is orange? Ear has only access to sound, it has no access to the color. So at a very basic level, we are only going by whatever our sense perceptions are reporting. Sensory organs are reporting to us. We go by that. We don't question that. That is because it automatically happens, correct? It's an automatic process. We take it for granted that whatever it is reporting is. In fact, many cases we also find that it is wrong. Our sensory inputs are all many times wrong. But even then we have greater faith, I have to say, or belief that our sense organs are reporting whatever it is reporting correctly. But similarly, the same status is given to the Veda traditionally. So whatever it is reporting, whatever it is saying, as long as you are not able to negate it, it has to be considered as valid knowledge. But that negation part is again very important. That's where it is different from other theologies. So Veda does not say that even if something is illogical, you have to accept. You understand? Nothing should go against established knowledge. And whatever it is revealing should be something totally new, which is not available for your perception or inference. Such things only are considered to be pramana vakya, means whatever it is really revealed by the Veda as a valid knowledge. So this is very important. That's why you can see here anything illogical or against established knowledge cannot be valid. And Adi Shankara is saying in the Gita Bhashya, in the commentary, he says, Nahi Shruti Shatamapi Shitaha Agnihi Aprakasho Va Iti Bruvat Pramanyam Upaiti. Means what? Even if 100 Vedic statements say that fire is cold, it is not luminous, you cannot accept that. Okay, it is not considered as valid because it is going against established knowledge. Even if it says something like that, you have to reinterpret it in some other manner, in keeping with the established knowledge. Okay, that is the important thing. That is our tradition. So, Veda is self-valid like any other means of knowledge. Because if you ask for proof for Veda, I will ask for proof for even your eyes seeing a particular color, correct? You cannot give any proof for that. But whatever it is revealing, we can say that it should not be negating any established knowledge. That much alone is a very reasonable proposition, I think, correct? And finally, what we can say, Vedic revelations can be considered axiomatic, even if you want to give some terminology for that. It is not scientific, but it is all some revealed truths. You can take it as some basis to construct your own theory and maybe design some experiments, and then once you prove that, you can say, okay, since I have based my theory on this axiom, the axiom also must be true, correct? That's all we can do, maximum. So we all know what are axioms. I am not going to explain that too much. So we can consider whatever the Veda is revealing as true, and you can keep it as a starting point. There are many things like that which can be an inspiration for any scientist, I think, provided you have the interest to know what is said there. Finally, the Shraddha word, are loosely translated in English as faith, but Shraddha itself is not really faith. This is one more mistranslation in English, I think. Shraddha means you accept the Veda as a means of knowledge, that's all. Okay. It is like accepting that colors revealed by your eyes are valid. And again, proof you cannot ask, because proof of a means of knowledge is only in using it. Otherwise, there is no proof. You use it, if it works for you. So even eyes, if you close your eyes and say, prove that my eyes will see, nobody can prove it, correct? No eye doctor also can make you see that way. He will only say, open your eyes, it should see. So basically what we know is that that which can neither be proved nor disproved can be considered as valid if it comes from a reliable source. That is what is our understanding. And so this is the basis for Shraddha, the word also. In fact, those who do not have Shraddha are called Nastika. Traditionally, those who do not accept the Veda as a valid means of knowledge, they say Nasti means what? Whatever said in the Veda it is not there, Na Asti. And those who say it is there are called Astika. But this term also is actually misused as atheist and theist and all that, which is not really the connotation. Because even the most orthodox Purva Mimamsaka is not a theist. Okay? So they don't accept an Ishvara. But they accept whatever the Veda says, all the Vedic karma, even including everything. So anyway, so this Shraddha is an important thing in our tradition. So finally, the summary of whatever we have discussed is that knowledge is a cognition of a unique revelation that should not be negated by any other cognition, correct? An error is a cognition negated by another cognition, and knowledge is self-valid. That is what is called Satah Pramanyam, very important thing to understand. And cognition revealed by any means of knowledge can never be proved nor disproved by any other means of knowledge. And Veda is an independent means of knowledge for us. And Veda is not scientific and should not be scientific also, I think, for it to be really useful to us. If it is scientific, means I will rather study science and not the Veda. Okay. Then the ontology, we will get into that. Now Satyam, truth. So truth again is a very problematic word. Like I said, there are a lot of quotations and all that. People are really confused. But if you take the Shankara Bhashya in the Taittiriya Upanishad, so there is a famous statement in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That is the statement. So for that, Shankara is commenting what is Satyam, because Satyam there also is a ontological term really. So he gives a definition of Satyam here really. So what is the definition? Satyam iti yad rupena yan nishchitam tad rupam na vyabhicharati tat satyam. So what is the meaning? So he says that is truth, which once ascertained as having a particular nature or form does not change its nature, form ever. Okay. Once you have ascertained this is there always like that. So relatively you can say clay pot is there, correct? In that, is the pot Satyam or not? I mean, pot is there now. If you break it, pot is no more there, correct? Pot is gone. But clay is there still. Even if you have broken the pot, so relatively clay was there as a lump. Clay is there as a pot. Clay is there even after the pot is gone. So with reference to clay and pot, we say clay is Satyam, because once you have known clay as clay, clay is there for a period of time. But pot is born from clay and it is also gone. So, but again, some other scientists will come and say, clay also is not there. Only some silicon is there, molecules are there. Like that you can go to a different level. That's why I said relatively. But absolutely, is there anything called Satyam? Correct? Because some other definitions of Satyam also is traditionally given. What is that? Trikale api tishtati. Means what? That which exists in all periods of time. That means in fact it transcends time also. That which is not even really subjected to time. Because anything which is subjected to time will change with time, correct? Time itself is measured as only change. That means Satyam should be really not even be subjected to time itself. Then also it can never be negated. So the simplest of definition is that which cannot be negated is the truth or Satyam. In fact, this is the definition my Guruji gave. It seems that I have heard this story that he went for some talks like this in some university in the 80s. Then some scientist, somebody came to him and told him that truth can never be defined. Can you give me a definition? Then he said, no, I can give you a definition. So he gave this definition. He said, that which can never be negated is truth. Can you break this definition? Then that person went away. Then he thought the whole night, it seemed. He thought, no, this definition at least is good enough. You cannot find any fault with the definition itself. Then he came next day before his talk and he asked, okay, you gave a definition which is good, all fine, but is there anything like that? Is there anything which you cannot really negate? And Swamiji said, no, you wait for my lecture, I will cover and all. He said, no, you have to tell me now. I am not able to tolerate this curiosity is too much. Okay, it's killing the cat. So then he said, the negator can never be negated. Because any negation presupposes the negator, correct? Without the negator, there is no negation. You can negate everything. What about the negator? Negator alone is Satyam, about which we will talk later when we also talk about consciousness and all that. But what I am saying is, this also is the definition. That which cannot be negated is Satyam. And that Satyam only we say ultimate reality also. Paramarthikam is another word used. It's ultimately real. Because we talk about many orders of reality. Because what we see, the transactional world also is a certain reality, correct? Because it appears, at least. There is a perception. So we don't deny the appearance. But when we analyze the reality of the appearance, then we know certain other things, correct? It is like every student of physics understands that the macro world is nothing but 99% space and all that. At an atomic level, it is all space. And how do we have solid, liquid, gas and all that? Then they explain it in terms of some, I think, spin and all that, correct? Like it is like even maybe my analogy is very crude or maybe not correct, but I understand it like this. You have a fan. The fan wings are really occupying very little space, correct? But if the fan is rotating, it is as though that it has occupied the entire 360 degrees. You cannot put your finger inside there. Like that, even if the electron cloud and all is comparatively a long distance away from the nucleus and all that, I think the spin and energy is actually making it what we see the macro world and all that of solid, liquid, gas, etc. So whatever. So it is only a macro phenomena is basically only an appearance, correct? It's all, in one way it is all Maya. That's what we say. It is all magic only at one way, because everything is, if you reduce it to a few building blocks, quarks and all that, then how do you get all this world which is so variegated, infinitely vichitra, correct? It is all different things are there. So we will come to that. So that is what we actually call it as appearance or mithya, or false with reference to the ultimate reality. Okay. So here also again he says, Shankara only here he says, Yadrupena yannistitam tadrupam vyabhicharati. You know something, then but that cognition changes. It can change because it's anyway subjected to space-time, means it's all changing all the time. So that is called tad anrutam iti uchyate. That is all anrutam. That is all false. Okay. So that which once ascertained as having a particular nature form, when it changes its nature, it is called false. That means all our cognitions are all changing, correct? We see one object, we see another object, another object, another object. The objects of knowledge, objects of cognitions are all changing all the time. That's why none of them can be called as ultimate reality. Then what is the ultimate reality in each and every cognition? The consciousness itself is the ultimate reality, which is the only thing which is, the knower alone is the unchanging in each and every cognition. The cognizer never changes. But we miss that we take it for granted. We are all interested in only the object of cognition. In the process, we miss the cognizer, who is the reality, who is underlying each and every cognition, or who is the invariable everywhere. Anyway, so whatever is negated is again mithya. And that's why he says further, Shankara, he is quoting the Chandogya also, Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam ritika ityeva satyam. This is a very, very popular Vedantic quote. So in this, the Upanishad is saying, if you have a world of clay, correct? You have a world of clay, everything is clay in that. There is only one clay, if you look at it as clay. But then you have thousands of forms, correct? Different pots, clay, whatever. You can make a plate, a pot, some other kind of a vessel. So many things you can make out of clay, or you can make out of gold, let us say. In the gold universe, everything is gold. But whatever you are making out of gold, those are all only names and forms. They are only names, really speaking, because the only substance which is there is, gold alone is the substance. So that's why here the Upanishad is saying, Mrittika ityeva satyam. Clay alone is satyam. Whatever name and form you can use to call that clay, or make out of it, all that is only, it's all only Vacharamana, means it's all only due to the words. Okay? Only a mere name and form. It's not, but the clay alone is real. That is the ultimate reality. That is the one which is there invariably, which can never be negated. So that is the important thing here. Names and forms are counted as a different order of reality because it doesn't have any substance to it. And so here another term, Vyavaharikam, means objective cognition, like a pot. But all names and forms are all objective cognitions, but they don't have any reality of themselves because only the substance is real. But is there any substance which is the reality of all the names and forms we see? That we will get to later. Okay, that is the important thing, because any substance like clay with reference to pot we can say, but clay itself is further reduced into something else, correct? If you keep on going like that, where is the final substance which you can say as, which is the real substance which is giving the very reality to all this names and forms? Is there anything like that? That also we will see. The Veda says it is there. Then there is a pratibhasikam also is included in this mithya only. It is subjective cognition like dream, or you are seeing rope snake and all that. It is all called pratibhasikam because it is only, you only see that, correct? Others are not seeing it. But both are counted as only mithya. There is one more thing called tuchha, means basically something which is not even available for cognition, totally non-existent. Typically unholy compounds like Vandya Putra and all is used to say what it is. Means nothing like that is there. So ontology means what? Satyam is the important thing we have to understand. Is that which can never be negated in all periods of time. Once you have ascertained it as this, it never changes. Mithya means it is appearing. It is available for cognition, but keeps on changing. There is no substance there. It's all only names and forms, more names and names and names only. Correct? You start with the pot becomes clay, clay becomes molecule becomes atom, atoms becomes something else. You can keep on going. So namni namani, we say. Name, more and more names in names. That is what is research also, correct? You are researching into more and more names. So you become an expert. Means you know more and more about less and less. Then you become a PhD. Okay.
So, can I ask a question? Learning.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So why didn't you define mithya as that which is not satyam? Why do you have a separate definition for it?
No, it is somewhat like that. No, that which is negated is mithya, but it appears. We do not deny the appearance, But it appears and it is negated, or it changes. It does not retain its, it doesn't have a nature of itself. That's what is the idea. Correct? So it is defined as, because there is one more thing we have is as total non-existence. That's why it is this one more, it is an in-between. Why it is in-between is, because some people say asat also you can say. The word in Sanskritam there is a satyam, asatyam, or sat, asat, like that we can say. But asat can be sometimes used as total non-existence, or it can be used for false cognition. False cognition has to be differentiated from total non-existence. That's why we have another word called mithya. If you want to know why I am having another word, that is because it is basically, we say it is uncategorizable. Mithya means it is neither asat in the sense that there is cognition, correct? Totally something is asat means you can never cognize it. But it is not satyam, because whatever you have cognized becomes negated. So it becomes in between. It is uncategorizable. That is what is called anirvachaniyam also. There is another term for that. You cannot say that either this is this or that. It is some kind of a fuzzy logic. Okay. Yeah.
No, I was thinking about the satya and asatya and all those. Are those the reference point, the current world that we live in? Is that the reference
Yes,
point?
that is the reference.
Or would it change? Like I'm just thinking about Facebook and metaverse and
that is all. That's why I said two things are there, correct? There is an objective cognition, there is also subjective. All of them come under mithya only. This mithya is better than this. That's all. In fact, from an individual standpoint, the more subjective cognition you reduce, subjective projections we have to say, it is better off for you as an individual. You can be objective in life means at least you can take whatever it is there. Otherwise we are only projecting our own whatever fears and your own likes and dislikes on things, and then it's becoming more complicated, correct? Anyway, so
But just on that topic, I'm just thinking about you, that you were reading your bio and everything, right? And little people like us, right? We are doing our own profession, we are doing whatever we are, and that is just a projection of something. That's not the true meaning.
see, correct. Whether all that is real is to be analyzed. At least everybody is taking all these things as real, correct? All I am saying is, have you even questioned all this till now? If you have not questioned, then it is you have to question that. Even your own very identity as an individual is to be questioned. We'll talk about that actually. Because you think you are an individual, I ask you who are you, you are going to give me your own biodata, correct? Of course, he gave my biodata. I'm not saying something is wrong with the biodata itself. But whether that itself is real or not is to be analyzed. That's all I'm saying. That is something we have taken for granted. Your own identity as an individual, you have taken for granted. In fact, all the problems are because of that individual only, correct? You have all the problems while waking. You go to sleep, you have no problem. That means problems have vanished. But while waking, individuality is there. In deep sleep, there is no individuality. At least using this law, it's called Anvaya Vyatireka, correct? Basically, when individuality is there, problems are there. When no individuality is there, no problem, you are enjoying your sleep. So from this, at least we know that all problems are related to the individual identity. Then the next question is, if this individual identity itself is coming and going, correct? Because I am the one who is awake, but I am the one who slept and enjoyed the sleep also. I never changes. But the individuality is coming and going. Then whether this individuality itself is something intrinsic to me, or it is something transient, or it is some erroneous cognition. It is also part of erroneous cognition or not. That's what you have to work out. Is it clear? So, anyway, so this is the ontology. I think it has kindled more interest in you. Very good. And Now we'll go into cause and effect also, which is a very interesting topic, and how traditionally we look at the cause and effect, or even why cause and effect is even talked about, because it is used as a teaching methodology. Okay, in our Vedantic teaching or pedagogy, cause and effect is one of the most important things we talk about. Generally, cause is taken as a satyam. Okay, like even clay pot example, clay is satyam because clay is the cause, and cause is there already. Cause is there even when the effect is there. For example, pot is there, clay also is there. Cause is still there even when the effect is gone. Okay, that means cause is satyam, effect is mithya, because effect comes and goes. Okay, all effects are potentially present in the cause. This is the important point. So when we talk about cause and effect, traditionally there are different opinions are there even in this. So the Nayayikas or the logicians in India, they go by whatever they see in the world. Okay, they are very good people, but they say that there was no cause before, only the effect. Sorry, there was no effect before, only cause was there. The effect was newly created. Okay, by the effort, the intelligent cause and the material. The intelligent cause has to put in some effort so that the material cause creates a new effect. That is how they describe it. Okay, because cause means again there are many causes are there. There is a clay is there, but potter also has to be there. Correct? Clay does not become a pot by itself. Of course, if you give some billions of years of evolution, evolutionary biologists will come and say clay will become a pot by itself. But I don't know what is the probability for that. Okay, but what I am saying is, at least generally we will say that there has to be a potter who is the intelligent cause, and there is clay. Of course, there are some instrumental causes are also there. Potter also needs a wheel, a stake, and other things. All these things are considered. Now you put all this effort, then that effort only produces a new effect from the cause. Such people are called asat karyavadi. Means they say that karya was not there before and it gets produced newly. It comes into existence newly. Such people are called asat karyavadi. Then Buddhists are there. They say there is no karana itself. They are called asat karanavada. They in fact fundamentally they don't accept cause and effect itself, because everything is shunya. But the Vedantin's view is all effects are potentially already there in the cause. In fact, you cannot produce anything newly. Whatever is already there only, you are manifesting it. You are bringing it into manifestation. Whatever is in unmanifest becomes manifest. That is called creation. So our understanding of creation is the entire creation is already potentially there in one reality. If at all there is a reality like that. Okay, we will come to that later. Now so everything is potentially, all effects are there potentially in the cause, already existing. But they are not, they are undifferentiated or unmanifest. So when the clay becomes the pot was already there potentially in the clay, but pot which was there in the form of a sharava or whatever, a powder or in different form, you put the effort to suppress the other effects and bring out the pot or make the pot manifest in the clay. So when one effect is produced, other effects become unmanifest. That is how it is looked. But unmanifest means it is still potentially there. Is it clear? So we are all called Satkaryavadi. The Vedantin is called Satkaryavadi, means he says that all effects are already there. Everything is there potentially. Whatever is there potentially alone, we are making it manifest. And destruction also is nothing but whatever is manifested becomes unmanifest. Something else will manifest in its place because cause is still there. So this is our understanding of cause and effect. There is a big bhashya on this. Okay, I have just given you a summary here. Yeah.
Does manifestation need to be a physical effort, or is it supposed to be
Yeah, it can be. in your dream, what physical effort you do? It is manifest. The whole dream world is manifest from you. That also is an effect.
So manifestation
Can be it need not always require only a physical effort and all that.
Okay. Because in the current.
Basically, the understanding is some equilibrium has to be disturbed. That's all. Okay.
So just by thinking.
Anywhere. That also equilibrium is gone, correct? Mental equilibrium is gone. Any equilibrium state, if it is disturbed, then a potential manifestation can come. That's how it is looked at traditionally. Otherwise, it's called layam. Layam means it's totally in equilibrium. All the triguna and all we talk about, correct? I didn't bring all that. The sattva, rajas, tamas and all we talk about. Everything, if it is in layam, in equilibrium, then there is no manifestation of anything. But still, the unmanifest alone is there. Then from that, so it is like before Big Bang, what was there? Something like that. If we ask a scientist, I don't know what they say, but they say some singularity is there and all that, correct? Something like that. Only we can look at a parallel here. That is the unmanifest we are talking about. If you take the entire creation or the universe itself as a creation, as an effect, then the cause of that is there, one reality, which is the unmanifest, in which this whole universe is there as a potential. But everything was there in an unmanifest state. Then it manifest means that is what we call creation. So this is the cause and effect. So creation. So typically is the world a creation? See, many people think that logically they can establish the world is a creation. That also is a fallacy. So let me be very clear. Logically nobody can establish that the world is a creation. You can give all this logic, correct? Intelligently put together. Okay, but even then one other guy has written a book called Blind Watchmaker. He says that even watches can come by evolution and all that. Maybe there is a very tiny probability for that. But you can give a good supporting logic for this, saying that too many things in this world, even if it changes a little bit, let us say, this I used to say, even the word dharma which we use, correct? Dharma is a word we use. It has a very wide meaning. Hriyate means that which supports. That which supports the entire universe itself can be called as dharma. And what is supporting our entire universe? All the laws, correct? All the laws are only supporting. The gravitation is supporting the creation. If it changes, today it is 9.8, tomorrow it becomes 9.9, day after tomorrow it becomes 10. Will we have the world like we have today? It's not possible, right? It will be only chaos. If some of these constants and scientific laws and all, they keep changing every day, then how our world will be? You can do a thought experiment, I think. Nothing will be there, correct? Maybe it will collapse, I think. Even if the gravity becomes a little bit more, Earth will not be there like this. It would have collapsed. Or if it becomes less, again we won't be sitting in this room, I think. I'll be here, you will be in Mars, or I don't know where, somewhere else, at the edge of the solar system. So like this, too many things have come together for the world to be whatever we have now. Whether all this is totally some by chance and all that, or is there any other intelligence behind this, is something open. Again, we cannot clinch logically. That you have to be clear. But looking at all these things, we would still say that there has to be some intelligence behind all this. Is a reasonable argument, I think, but it's not a totally logical argument or anything. So intelligently put together we can say, but you cannot still establish that the world is a creation. Unless you can say world is a creation, you cannot say that there is a creator and all that. Is that clear? Then even if you say world got a creator, where did the creator get the material to create all this? This is another problem. Okay, some theologies say that God created the world out of nothing. Okay, then I am very happy. I'll give you nothing, you give me something then. You can create something out of nothing and give me. So out of nothing you cannot create anything. Understand that. That is only Sat. From Sat alone, Sat can come. If it is not there, nothing is there, means Shunya is Shunya only. Nothing can come from there also. So that's why so here you have to only fall back on the Veda. Then what does the Veda say? If you accept the Veda as a valid means of knowledge again, Veda says there is a creator. Okay. But what is the Vedic vision of this creator? That is the most interesting thing for us. Veda says the maker and the material are one and the same. So you have to say that if you say God is there, means God created the world out of nothing else we add. One more else you add. That means there is no another material and all is not required, because normal creation requires the intelligent cause, material cause and all that within the world that we see. But so the Veda itself gives an analogy. Yatornanabhis srijate grinnate. This is there in the Mundaka Upanishad. Like even the spider. Spider is both the material cause and the intelligent cause for the whatever yarn it is creating, correct? So it creates the yarn, it can even take the yarn back into itself. Or your own dream world and all is there. So like this, the maker and the material being the one and the same is the most important vision of the Veda. If we have a religious class, I will talk a lot more about this, how it makes our entire religious culture meaningful and make you understand how it's all like makes sense. Okay, the spirit behind all our forms and all that. But right now that's not the point here. But understand this, that Vedic vision is this. Of course, for that you have to accept there is a creation. Many people do not accept. Even in India, Jains don't accept the creation. Even Purva Mimamsakas don't accept. They say that it is always like this. Why do you even require a creator then? Creation is always like this only. Beginningless, it is like this. So you don't require any creator then. What about all devatas and all that? You do Vaidika karma means devatas are there. They accept. All the devatas are also there like this always. All the human beings are also there. Or maybe it is evolving. That's all fine. Within the creation, cause and effect they accept. But they say as a whole, the world is not a creation. Like this, many philosophies are there, theologies are there. We can't go and argue with them logically, understand that. Because logic itself is not enough in that. But whatever they say is illogical, we prove. Understand that whenever we argue with some others, all the debates are like that, you show the other guy is illogical. Then at least his position he has to leave. Your position cannot be negated by him logically. But he may still not accept. Okay, that is a different thing. But that's how they debate at least. There is an established way to debate all these things. It's very interesting if you read. And also the maker is considered as the father, material means it is mother and all that. So we have no problem with the gender of the creator. You can consider in any way. It's all a standpoint. And creation and creator are not separate, because creation is a manifestation of the creator for us. So that means the creator pervades all objects and subjects also. Okay, because the problem is everything is God, but you leave out yourself. That is the greatest problem. Okay. And so from this, once you say that okay, there is a creation, then what about the details? There are creation models are all there. One of the most interesting statements is from the Taittiriya Upanishad, where it says, Tasmad va etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. So from this Atma, Paramatma or Brahman, because before this it says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Vedanihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Like that, then it says Tasmad va etasmad atmana akasha sambhutaha akashad vayuhu vayor agnihi agnerapaha adhya prithvi. Like that it goes. So from this limitless Atma or self came this Akasha. Means Akasha is created for us. There is no doubt about that. So it's not like Newtonian mechanics where Akasha is, or space-time is considered as absolute and all that, and all matter has to be in space-time. So that way for us, Akasha also is part of matter, which is more nearer to the current physics understanding, I think, because space means time also is included here. That is the understanding, because even in the commentary of this, Shankaracharya clearly says, Akasha Kalabhyam Karanaha and all that. So, Atma is the cause for the both space and time to be created. So, space-time is created for us, and from that came Vayu. Vayu to Agni. Agni means all kinds of energy and all that we can take. Then from that, water to earth, like this, earth to plants. Then you eat the plants and become animals and other beings are there. Okay. So Oshadibhyo Annam also is a very interesting statement. In some other context I would have talked about this more, but we will see that. Then there is also a concept of Panchikarana when we talk about creation in the Shastra. This is also very interesting, because when we talk about all this Akasha, Vayu, 5 elements are there, correct? It's a simplistic model. But in the 5 elements also, the initial 5 elements are called Tanmatra, means they are more like only potential. It is like potential energy, or some potential is there. And then, but in that potential only 3 types of guna also are there, or it has 3 constituents. The Sattva, Rajas, Tamas also is brought in this creation model. So potentially, when these 3 are there, the Sattva aspect of space, 50%, then they take 12.5% of the other 4, becomes the actual subtle space, it is called. And that is what is your mind is made up of, that, they say. Is that clear? Mind itself is part of the matter only in our understanding. Mind is counted as separately from physical matter, but it is considered to be subtle matter, and that also is from the same 5 elements only. Mind also is covered, and all the physical world also is, that will be the tamas aspect, becomes the gross world. So from the sattva aspect of all these 5 elements, the mind and senses are created. The rajas aspect only becomes the life, prana and all that. Because activity means, without life there is no activity, correct? Once life is gone, body is, I think subatomically, it doesn't become a big, I don't know what differs. One guy is awake, alive, he is dead. In 2 seconds, from an atomic standpoint, what has changed we don't know. Science is not able to find it, I think still. Although some people all the time put some photos and all that, correct? Some guy died and something is going out and all that, but nobody believes all that. I don't know whether any serious research is happening there, but there is a gap there also, correct? Current science is not able to account for properly this mind or even prana. They are looking at it only in a functional manner, I would say, correct? Even most of the mind, psychology and all that, they are studying behaviorally. If this stimulus is there, how somebody will react, or if your background is like this, how your mental makeup is, but mostly from the functional standpoint. But what is mind itself, there is no clarity, or they just say it is an epiphenomenon of matter. They don't even accept it. It is all, they are only reducing it to some brain level or whatever bodily, some reactions and all that. And even life also is prana. But our understanding is that mind also is a separate part of creation. It's a subtle. And prana also is subtle. Again, prana and mind, but they are different from each other, because the prana is a rajas aspect, which is corresponds to again activity and all that. Sattva means whatever, luminosity, brightness, like that. We have a certain understanding. Sattva, rajas. Tamas means is the actual gross world of the same element. Their different aspects combine together and form the entire creation. The gross creation and also the subtle part of the creation, which includes the mind and the life or prana. So this is the understanding. Of course, whether this gives anybody any inspiration to find something from this, I don't know. You can consider this is what is given. But creation itself is not the tatparya of our shastra. That also I have to tell you. There are many different accounts of creation. There is more detailed accounts also. Further, Brahma came and Brahma started creating and all that. So if you read the Puranas, there is lot more about Sarga, Pratisarga and all they say. There are lots of accounts are there about creation. But at least these things that we have to account for mind and life, which is totally missing because there is a disconnect between biology and physics today, correct? The physical systems are there, but there is a biological system and life is there. And biological system is sentient, mind is there. How are you accounting for it means, I don't know, I have not seen any, although I have only read popular physics books and all that, so I cannot claim I am a big scientist and all that. But I don't think people are even anywhere near close to having any theory or anything worthwhile there. So these are all missing totally, which I think some study needs to be done in all that area. So space-time is not absolute, I already said, but I want to quote you the Bhashya also. See, Sarvesham hi vastunam kala akashadinam karanam brahma. Like this Bhashyakara says clearly. Kala and Akasha also is created. And the Karana for that is Brahman, like that. He is quoting that. Brahman is indeed the cause of all objects like space-time. And how does Akasha itself, he says, Akasho nama shabda gunaha Akasha karaha murta dravyanam. So, Akasha is Avakasha Pradatra, Akasha, like that they define in Sanskritam the Lakshanam. Means that which gives accommodation to everything. Like that, simply they say that. Or it is considered as having the Shabda Guna. Sound means it is considered as a quality of the Akasha. Again, how much this corresponds with the modern understanding in physics and all that, we don't know. But this is the traditional understanding that Shabda Guna means it is in the Akasha, quality of sound. Of course, each and every element also is associated with one of the sensory stimuli, correct? Sound is Akasha means, yeah.
Sorry. Shabda means, can you take it as vibration?
You can take, because sound also is vibration, correct? Or any wave or something. And time also we have very interesting understanding. Of course, basically it is looked upon as a cycle of 60 years at a low level and aligned with seasons, movement of heavenly bodies and all that. It's all a cycle. And of course it is understood in terms of change, Kala, Mahakala and all we say, Kali, Kala and all that. But basically it's a potential energy manifest as action, kinetic energy only is time for us. This understanding is there because time is also looked upon as a Shakti. And the other important thing is, time is different for different beings. This is now in keeping with general relativity also, which we all know. Most of you may be knowing that wherever gravity is high, the time becomes slower. Wherever gravity is less, time is faster, and there are already applications for all these things because even your Google Maps works based on this theory because satellites are in less gravity, there the clocks are running faster, the atomic clocks in the satellite. So they have to actually adjust the time for the time on the surface of the earth. Otherwise, none of your Google Maps will work with the precision of few meters which we have today. Okay, so this understanding is very much there because we say that the Devas, one human year is one day. That means Krishna Paksha, Uttarayana, Dakshinayana we say, correct? Sun moves from the north to south, south to north and all that. That is one day and night. That means one whole year is one day for the Devas. Okay, one whole year, human year. Then the Pitras means the different kinds of beings, let us say. For them, one lunar human month is 1 day for them. That's the fortnight, waxing fortnight, waning fortnight, and all these things. And the Brahma, who is considered as the creator, his 1 day, one daytime, that is 4.32 billion years. That's what is said. Because 1000 Chaturyugas, one Chaturyuga itself is 4.32 million years. Okay. So 1000 Chaturyuga is 1 day, and his night also is another 1000 Chaturyuga. That means 8.64 billion years is one cycle of creation. Like that Brahma lives for 100 years. He's 100 years. That is a very, very big number. Then only the Maha Pralaya, they say. Okay. In between all these things are all, yeah.
So if the current Brahma is 51 years old, as we are taught.
Yeah, Vidya Paradhe and all we say when we do the Sankalpam.
He is 51, then that number doesn't make sense because 13.2 billion years as expected now.
They are saying 13.8 something, no?
The entire age of the universe is expected to be at 13 point
Correct.
whatever billion years.
Maybe that also may change, I don't know, because this is coming much, much more than that.
I know, that is the dichotomy that I've tried to address for a long, long time, and I can't find an answer, and something is wrong somewhere, either in interpretation or something somehow is wrong, right? Because the current Brahma cannot be 51 years and 2 months, whatever his age is right now, according to whatever the Deshakala.
Correct.
That we tell every day.
So every day we do when we do Sankalpam, we say all that. Vidya Paradhe, Shvetavara, Kalpe, Vaivasuta Manvantare and all that. If you count those many years, I have not done the math, but somebody can do that very easily. It is coming to many, many billion years, actually speaking.
Actually exceeding the trillion.
Yeah. So, but that's what is there. Like the current understanding, like he says, is some 13.2 billion or something for the Big Bang, correct?
Every physical law that you talked about.
Correct. Is there?
Gravity or relativity or the speed of light can be explained within that time frame.
Only, yeah. The oldest radiation they have found is corresponding to that year and all that.
So that cannot be negated because the current physical law holds that to be true, which means either this is untrue or the current law that are governing.
What about, there are so many dark things are still there, so we don't know, we'll have to wait for that. Okay, maybe that's something, but at least it's not saying that world was created in 4,000 years and all that, correct? So that way, that way there is something is there. This is the understanding at least. And another interesting aspect from a pure Vedantic standpoint, also I wanted to share, is that time means first you have to define now, correct? Because past, future, everything is only with reference to the now. But what is now? Itself we cannot really define. So if you inquire into that, of course, few years back we were talking about nanoseconds and all that. Now they talk about more than that, something attoseconds and zeptoseconds and all that. Very, very small time length. But however small it is, finally you cannot say what is now, because now is nothing but the conscious being who is aware of the time itself, correct? So that's where it resolves. So it is like a point in geometry we say occupies no space, correct? But it really forms a line. Points only form the line which is there. Like that, a series of now becomes a length of time, but now itself you cannot define it as any length of time, which is a contradiction, correct? That is what is Maya again. I wanted to just show you that even time is really, it's only a superimposition on whatever. It's basically that you take that something is time, that's it. But when you inquire into it, so traditionally we say this whatever is Maya, vicharam na sahate. They say if you analyze it, it is not there. But it is there. Even if you cognize, it is there. It is there. The appearance is there. But when you analyze, there is no substance in that. So the now also resolves into the knower of now. That is the understanding. So this again we will come to this more. The other thing is, mind is inert according to our our tradition, but it is subtle matter, like I already said, capable of manifesting awareness. That's what we say, sentient beings, correct? Within the creation, there are many sentient beings. Of course, insentient things are also there. And individual mind is with reference to a particular body, it is there. But we also talk about a total mind, the totality of all the minds also. That is called Hiranyagarbha in Sanskritam. That which is luminous with all knowledge or all potential things. So the totality of physical world is actually called Virat. Physical totality. Then there is a subtle total mind, is the Hiranyagarbha. And both mind and matter have the same cause, which is the consciousness. We say one consciousness is the cause. The one and only non-dual reality, or Brahman alone, is considered to be the cause of space-time itself, and whatever is there within the space-time. And that is limitless because it is the cause of even space and time. That's how it is understood. So when one sees beyond the manifest names and forms of everything, you keep on reducing it. Finally, even modern scientists also have to account for the observer, correct? Observer only is very important, but they don't know the nature of that observer now. I still don't think there is any consensus that what this observer is. There are different understanding about that. But observer has to be taken into account, although they are still struggling with that, I think. But if you remove all names and forms also, the observer or the consciousness has to be there. Because even if you say vacuum, who knows that vacuum is very important. The knower of the vacuum is always there, correct? That means there is no vacuum or anything. Always that consciousness has to be there. That's why for us there is no word, the word for zero can be shunya also is there. But in all our Indian languages there is a word called puja. The zero is called puja. Why should anybody call zero puja? Puja means really worshipful. The meaning of puja is something which is holy or worthy of worship. Why should zero be worthy of worship? If you remove all names and forms, what is left behind is the consciousness, which is the limitless one reality, or which is the cause of everything, and that is puja. That is the understanding here. So all names and forms come from that one reality. They all resolve back into the same reality. They are all sustained by the same reality, and that reality is not separate from you. That is the final teaching. Okay. So that's what Vedanta is all about. Mind and matter both are caused from the same reality. They are all part of the effect only. Okay. And both are equally inert, but one is more subtle and all that, so that it is able to reflect or manifest awareness. So in this summary of creation, if you say world is a creation, and again there is creator cannot be clinched logically, we accept that. World as a creation and there being a cause for this creation is revealed by the Veda, but and Veda reveals space-time also as created and not absolute. And matter is gross aspect of creation, mind is the subtle aspect. Mind and also prana, life also we have to take here. And mind and matter are born of same five elements, but out of different constituents, whether it is sattva, rajas or tamas, based on that. And the cause of this creation is Brahman, the one and only non-dual reality. So this is about creation. And so from the creation, why the creation is talked about? Only to reveal this one and only non-dual reality as Satyam. The whole creation is supposed to be only an appearance. It's all only name and form. That is the idea here. So that's where we are going now, finally. So because we have the consciousness word also is very confusing, because consciousness, awareness, all these things are used for functionally also it is used, correct? If somebody can respond to stimulus, then we say that person is conscious. But machines also can respond to stimuli. Whether we can really say a machine is conscious or not, again there is a big discussion on all these things. Artificial intelligence is really conscious or not. Whether really a machine knows Chinese machine, if you ask some machine in Chinese, it is able to answer. But based on the fact that it is able to answer your question, it is really conscious, or whether it has knowledge, whether it knows it has knowledge or not. That is another important thing, correct? Whether the machine itself, but maybe if you ask the machine, do you know Chinese, it will say yes. But even if it says yes, whether it really knows that I have this knowledge of this, these are all bigger questions. Still people are discussing, but what we say is, individual sentient beings have mind and body. We are all conscious beings that way. But this the seeing, hearing, etc. through organs like eyes, ears are impermanent and temporary, because all these cognitions are all, they are all changing all the time, correct? And also your own sense organs do not function the same way all the time. That's all temporary. And even you can lose consciousness, you can faint and all that, correct? Those things are also there. So cognition takes place when there is contact between sense and objects. Here also there are interesting theories are there. Our theory is that when the sense organs and sense object come into contact, your mind actually goes out through the sense organ and takes the form of the object. Because mind is a subtle matter, it goes through your senses, takes the form of the object. That is what is called manovritti in Sanskritam, or the mind taking a particular form. When the mind takes the particular form of an object only, knowledge takes place according to it. That itself is called a means of knowledge. And how that mind takes the form of a particular object can either be through sense organ, sense object contact, or it can purely be a mental exercise like inference or whatever is happening in your mind, your thought and all that. Okay. So, but here what we differentiate is the self or the consciousness, which we talk about as the reality, is defined as, or it is described as a seer of sight, hearer of hearing, thinker of whatever, like that, the thoughts and all that. That means, who is the one who knows whether the eyes are seeing or not? Who is the one who knows whether your ears are hearing or not? Who is the one to whom all your thoughts are becoming evident? That is looked upon as a separate entity. That is what is meant by consciousness when we talk about in Vedanta. It is not just the activity in your brain or even your mental modifications. Those are all, the mind may manifest awareness. It may even remove ignorance by taking the form of a particular object, where again the consciousness is manifest. But all that is there only because of this consciousness. That is the final entity to which everything becomes evident. So the self is the only one which has this consciousness as its inherent nature, which never changes. That's why it is Satyam also. Everything else is coming and going, all names and forms, they all are Vidya. And that the ability of the self to know never stops. This in the Upanishad also it is said. In fact, it gives a big list. Nahi drashtuhu drishtehe vipariloko vidyate avinashasvat, like that. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says the sight of the seer. Of the sight. Okay, the seer of the sight means what? The one who knows whether your eyes are seeing or not. The one who knows whether your ears are hearing or not. That consciousness never stops. It is always awake. There is no sleep also. Sleep is only for the mind. When the mind resolves, that is what we say the individual is sleeping. But the consciousness is always awake. Even if the subject object is not there, I am there. That I is that consciousness which is independent of whatever your mind and senses and all that is reporting, or if they report, then there is a subject object duality. If even that stops, I am there always as a conscious being. That is my real nature. Even the very individuality which comes in the waking, or even there can be a different individuality in dream, correct? In waking I am a man. In dream, I don't know what I will become. I don't know, many of you may have dreamt that you are somebody else. In waking, you are a beggar. In dream, you become a king. Or in waking, you are a king. In dream, you become beggar, or you become some other animal. I don't know what. So, what I am trying to say is, I is the same. I is the same even in this waking also, correct? From childhood onwards, I say. But the body, mind, everything has changed. Then what is there as I? Unchanged. The I is unchanged. I is the invariable in all our experiences, even within waking. Or across all the states, if we see also, I is the invariable. The individuality, all the identities which we are superimposing on ourselves, they come and go. They are not really intrinsic to you. But that's not very easy thing to understand. But all our problems are also coming along with this individuality. Correct? All the individual's problems become my problem. My body's problem become my problem. So Vedanta itself is very simple. It has only one simple statement. Okay? It says that whatever is an object of your knowledge is not you. Okay? That's all is Vedanta. If you can internalize this, you are a jnani. Whatever is an object of your knowledge, you are always the knower, correct? You are the subject. Whatever you know is not you. Then do you know your body or not? I know my body. It's also an object of knowledge. Whatever is happening in my body, I know. Whatever is happening in my mind, I know. So who is this I know? That I alone is you. Whatever is an object of your cognition is not I. This is what is called Atma, Anatma, Viveka. We say in Sanskritam. This is the basic thing in Vedanta. But if you can understand that and untangle your wrong identification with your own body, mind, sense complex, then you are supposed to become a jnani. Okay, that is the idea here. And that I itself is nothing but this consciousness whose conscious nature never changes. It is always the same. That is the reality. That is the reality of the entire Srishti also. Okay, that is the one which gives existence to everything. So here Shankara actually goes and talks about two types of sights are there and all that. That's why he says there is a temporary sight of the eyes, but the ability to know of the self, the conscious nature of the self is the one which is always there, which is permanent. Eyes can see today, tomorrow it cannot see. Its ability varies. But self always is conscious, regardless of the state of your mind or state of your sense organs and all that. So that is the one you have to understand yourself as. But the problem what people mistake, the temporary external vision's qualities like growth and decay are taken as the qualities of the vision of the self. The one which cognizes it due to erroneous cognition of the worldly people, like that Shankaracharya is saying in the Bhashya. That is the problem, human problem is that. But reality is that self is limitless, it is infinite, Ananta. So the word Ananta also is discussed very nicely. How do we understand this limitlessness? Because we say the world is limitless. But Brahman or Atma also is limitless. How do we understand this limitlessness? Because limitlessness mathematically or infinity is only in terms of counting and all that, correct? Countless numbers, etc. But that is only one aspect. So Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is the actual Vakya. The Anantam word is there in the Taittiriya Upanishad itself. So when Shankara is commenting on that, he says Trividam hi Anantyam. So three types of infinity are there, or limitlessness. What is that? Deshataha, Kalataha, Vastutascha iti. So there are three types with reference to Desha or space, with reference to Kala, time, and what about all the objects? Because if I say this is cow, then cow is not horse, correct? This is horse means horse is not cow. By becoming one object only, you have become limited because you are not the other object. So now how can we establish that Brahman is limitless when all these various differences are there? Space-wise differences are there, time-wise it is there, object-wise everything is different. Means he is giving some logic for that. What is that? Akasho hi ananta iti prasiddham deshakah. So we all know space is there, correct? That is limitless. Space itself is considered as limitless. But this Atma is revealed as the Karanam for space also. It is the cause of space. How can you say Atma is Karanam for space? Even in your own dream world, you are creating your own space-time. So it is not something we cannot relate to. So this Atma is the one reality from which this entire waking space-time also has come. But even in your own dream world also, the entire dream space-time also has come from you only. So this self being the cause of even the space, self is really transcending the space also. It is free from space. Similarly, time also. Because it is not a karya. Everything which is a karya has come into existence in time. But that which is the uncaused cause, which is never an effect, is also a cause of the time also. That's why it is free from time. So both space-time are caused, but the uncaused Brahman or self, limitless with reference to time also, because you transcend time. As consciousness, you are only aware of time. Time resolves into you if you analyze it. And finally, this consciousness alone gives existence to everything. So the word is a very important word. Is used as a verb. Or existent is used as an adjective. These are all tragedies of language. Okay? Because is alone is there. Is there. Because everything is you have to say. If something is, pot is, clay is, table is, whatever, computer is, this screen is, all that we are saying. In that, is alone is the invariable, correct? The object keeps on changing. From this, what we understand, we have to say that party existence is the right way of telling in language, because existence alone is there. The adjectives are the objects which come and go. But we say existent part. That means language is confusing you. Existence alone is there, and what is that existence? It is you, because you are the only self-existent entity. Because if I ask you, are you there? You all say yes. How did you know you are there? You don't have to use any means of knowledge to know your own existence, correct? You did not say, okay, now I am there. Or I am married, therefore I have to be there. Okay, inference. You don't use any perception or inference to say I am there. Because my existence is implicit in each and every cognition, and I am already there. I don't have to know myself by using any means of knowledge. That is what we call it as swaprakasha, swatasiddha and all that. Self-existent and self-revealing reality is only you. Everything else is known to you. You are there as a conscious being who need not be objectified to know yourself. Okay? Your own existence need not be known by objectifying yourself. You cannot objectify yourself also, because subject can never become the object. So, you are the cause of everything, including space-time and all the objects within that. You are the one who gives your very existence to all these objects, so you are not really separate from all these objects. All the objects are only names and forms. So that is how this Anantyam is explained in the Vedanta, that conscious, limitless entity, which is you alone, is the cause of everything, including all the objects. You are the one who is collapsing the entire world as a quantum system, we have to say. I don't know whether it is valid, but I am saying it is something like that. So you are the reality, you are the only reality, in fact, who is collapsing the entire world. You give the existence to all the things which are there here, therefore you are not separate from anything. So that's why we say it is Ananta. That Ananta is the only one reality there, correct? There is nothing else other than that, really speaking. That is the Paramarthika Satyam. This is all only name and form. all available for transactional. In the transactional world, for transactions, it is available. And whatever the subject-object dichotomy also is all mutually dependent. Yeah.
The whole thing about the name and form thing, it does not account for the utility of that object.
Utility also is included in that. Name, form, function, they say.
The pot that can hold water.
Correct.
And clay that cannot hold water is the same, but the functionality is different.
The clay is same in both.
It
The
doesn't
form
matter,
and functions.
No, the form is not the same and the function is not the same.
Correct. Because the form and functions are also, everything is part of the effect. I agree that. Form and function also.
If you take out form and function, what we have is reductionist approach to calling everything clay.
Correct. The idea is, but substance is the one which gives existence, correct? If you touch the pot, what are you touching? You are touching the clay. If you weigh the pot, you are weighing the clay. What is there really? If you remove the clay, can you say anything as pot is there by itself? It is not there, correct?
No,
But the substance is the one which gives the existence. The form, function, name, everything is included. When we say name and form, the function also is included. So explicit statement is there in the Upanishad about it. Nama Rupam Karma, like that is there. Karma is the function.
okay.
All that is counted as Vidya. Function also is part of the transactional reality. And it is counted as, because that also comes and goes. Basically, along with the name and form, function also is gone, correct? That's how it is looked at. You understand? From an ontological standpoint, function also goes along with the name and form, correct? When the name and form goes, function also goes. But the cause is still there. That is the point.
Well, the cause stays, but the function and the form could be the same, but your perception could be different.
Correct.
If I touch a piece of clay, if I touch raw clay, I can say it's soft. If I touch a pot, I can say it's hard.
Of course, clay pot you can, okay, I don't want to go too much into the analogy. This is the problem. The analogy is only to explain to you a certain point of, or a certain concept. So we don't have to analyze the analogy itself too much. Let us take gold then. Gold is not similar to clay. Gold is slightly better analogy, I think. That's why I prefer gold. But even there you can say that certain things are different and all that. But the idea here is the cause or satyam has to be there in all periods of time without any change.
The value is the same, is what you're saying.
Not only the value, it is if you say that satyam is consciousness, let us say, it's a limitless conscious being, it always remains as the same, it never changes. Everything else is only an appearance which is coming and going in that one reality. That's the teaching. And function also is included in that. When the name and form comes, function comes along with that. When the name and form goes, function also goes along with that. Correct?
So, is it that the consciousness in J is the same as the consciousness in me, and my form and function are, say, for example, to study plasma, is that in form and function is to study, say, for example.
Correct. All different forms are all manifestation of the same cause with their own functions also. That's the understanding.
See, the problem is, there's a dollar bill and there's 4 quarters, right? The forms are different. The function is the same. The value is the same. So if you can argue that I can buy, whatever I can buy with this dollar bill, I can buy the same thing with these 4 quarters right? So the understanding then is that at a growth level that you earlier talked about, I can reject the idea that these are the same because it's a paper and that's at a growth level. I can definitely do that, right? I can call them different. Although the value is the same, I can tell them.
Correct. Functions also, different names and forms can have same function. I am not denying that. But that does not really invalidate whatever I am saying. That's all I am telling you. I am trying to point out that cause alone is satyam. Effects are all mithya. That is the larger idea which we are discussing.
But it depends on your view from what you're looking at. If I'm looking at it from a growth perspective, I'll say this is paper, this is metal, they're not the same.
No, that's what, within the creation there is a problem. I already accepted that, correct? That's why the whole world also has, the Upanishad is presenting the creation model, correct? How it is starting. It says that there is an infinite conscious reality which is Brahman, from that Akasha came, correct? So Akasha is a manifestation from one reality, which is the consciousness, which is limitless. So what it is saying, then Akasha is the one, from that only everything, the differentiated creation came. There is a lot of description about how the world differentiated, how Prajapati came first and then created all the beings and all that. We don't have to go into that. But the whole Tatparya itself is not there in the creation itself. The idea is to say that whatever is created is name and form.
I agree with both of those arguments. All I'm saying is, I agree that on a growth level, the two papers are different. At the value level, they're both equal to $1, it's okay. But I can also say that at a quality or attribute level, that this $1 does not make a noise when I'm walking in my pocket, but these 4 quarters will jingle.
Correct.
Right? So the guna part has been left out.
No, we are not leaving out anything. That's what I'm saying. They are all equally part of this mithya only, because any guna also changes, correct?
My consciousness from Shikan,
Guna also doesn't. What I would say at a fundamental level is, guna also is a superimposition on a guni. See, guna, guni, like that, there is an argument is there. Not because this is a limited time is there. I don't want to go into that. So
You cannot distinguish what is your consciousness and Srikanth.
Yeah, correct.
Consciousness is flowing everywhere. They cannot say, you can say your mind and Srikanth. You cannot say your consciousness and Srikanth consciousness.
Yeah, it takes some time.
no, guna and guni also, where does the guna reside, like that, there is a question comes.
So consciousness are the same, then I'm taking Shikan.
No, that's why.
So it is true for your space and time, and it is true for his space and time.
See, even I think physicists are questioning, if you have one part, whether what is the space within that part, whether you put another part on top of this part, then what happens to that part space, whether it is part of this part or the bigger part, and if you keep on expanding it to the entire space, how we understand, we can do all that analysis.
The more you lose the Dehatma split, the complicated life becomes. So keeping them together is the best thing. So you know.
Correct. See, of course, all these things are only to teach a particular reality about yourself. That's the final goal of this. Everything else is only a teaching methodology, we look at it as. And even the cause-effect model is only shown to tell you that the cause alone is the real. That is Paramarthika Satyam. Everything else is being an effect, is potentially there in the cause. It has come manifest and it will again become unmanifest. But this entire cycle of manifest, sustaining and going unmanifest is now having no effect on the cause itself, correct? This is totally in a different order of reality. That is the teaching. And within this manifestation and sustaining and all that, all types of functions and forms and names, everything is included in that. We are not denying, whatever you are saying, everything is correct. So, that is the thing. In fact, that's the last statement here. The variable objects of cognition along with the subject are ephemeral and are only appearances. That's the point here. Both the subject-object, they are mutually dependent. Because without the object, there is no subject. And without subject cognizing the object, object also is not there. They come together. And there is one more argument is that this is there in the Vedanta Upanishad Bhashyam itself. I don't want to go into the Sanskritam here, but the gist is that if you have two mutually dependent things, there has to be a third independent thing which is supporting this mutual dependence. Otherwise, mutual dependence cannot come by itself. And what is that independent thing is? That is again Brahman. See, this is one way of, in the Upanishads, another way of teaching is, they show that this entire creation, everything is mutually dependent. Then what is the one independent thing which is now supporting this mutual dependence? Then again they say that is this one reality, that alone is supporting, that is the independent reality which does not depend on all these things and still supports all these mutually dependent things like that. So this is another thing, and this way, finally what this statement, there is a story on this particular Upanishad mantra about this Purnamadaha Purnamidam. So I think one British guy wanted to learn Vedanta and all that in 1700. So he went to a Pandita. Then they chant the Shanti Mantram first. Whenever we start any class or ending also, we end with this Shanti Mantra. So if you translate this, it is very funny, correct? So it says Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate. So it says this Adaha Purnam, that is limitless. This is limitless, Purnamidam. Then Purnat Purnam Udachyate. From that limitless, this limitless came. Then Purnasya Purnamadaya. From that limitless, you remove this limitless. Purnameva Avasishyate means what? Limitlessness alone remains. So this is the Shanti Mantra we chant. And this is a very interesting Shanti Mantra. Again, this shows our understanding of this infinity or limitlessness also. So here actually that means that the Brahman, which is the cause is complete by itself. It does not lack anything. So everything is potentially in that cause alone. But from that once manifest, this world also is limitless. Like this world which is an effect is also Purna. From Purna which is manifested, this Purna means this effect has manifested. And even if you take away the effect, the cause always remains as it is, because anyway it is of a different order of reality. That is the idea.
Replace the word Purna with Shunya into the example.
Just words alone. From Shunya nothing can come, no? It is illogical. If it is nothing means only nothing can come from nothing. How can something come from nothing, you tell me?
But nothing can go back to nothing. Right?
Nothing also, who is cognizing that nothing then? How you cannot even establish nothing, I am saying. Who is saying there is nothing? Then that person is there, correct? Then only the nothingness is gone.
Correct. I think that's the key point.
That's the key point, no? The negator can never be negated. Even Shankaracharya argues against Buddhists. If you read the Brahma Sutra Bhashya and other, even in the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya, there is a Ghata Bhashyam is there, where the cause and effect is discussed a lot.
The Ghatakasham, Patakasham, the validness I agree, but I do have, I don't know, that would be a long discussion.
I think
no, but in a very concise manner, the main argument is the negator can never be negated. That is the final argument the Vedanta is facing to the Buddhists. Because the Buddhists are also many people argue Buddhism and Advaita are same and all that. Mostly there is a lot of parallels in the sadhana. They also talk about yoga, meditation, whatever, some kind of a middle path and all that. Okay, everywhere, lot of agreements are there, I don't deny. They also say world is Maya. But only problem is, they have a Maya without any basis. That is the only problem. They are talking about a superimposition without any substance being there. That's not acceptable. Shunya also, who is cognizing Shunya will become a problem then. That's why I said correct, zero also is Pujya for us. We don't say it is Shunya also, word is there. But we use the word Pujya, not Shunya. So I hope I have gone beyond that time. But I think it was still okay, and hopefully it was interesting for all of you. And we have some regular classes and all that, those who want to attend. Or we have all our recordings are there in our YouTube channel, which may be useful to you. Or you can message us, whoever is interested. And with that we will close this.
I think any other questions? And maybe I can share one experience. See, when I started in my first class also, I left with lot more questions. And also I was a skeptic. I was very skeptical. I was thinking I know science and I have a scientific methodology, and I was questioning. But the beauty is, the more I questioned, the more I could develop clarity. So you're on the right track. So it's great. But have the Shraddha. I think at least one of my few words of wisdom is have the Shraddha. Have the open mind that this is a valid means of knowledge. Have your questions. and keep questioning. I think that's the key.
That is the part where you have to struggle, because
Anyway, in the chat
the
also there is.
Veda as being authoritative and Shabdam coming from a source that cannot be defined, cannot be taken as the word. That is the problem, right? You have to have a certain state, and sometimes state is not to come by the time.
No, that's what I am saying. Correct. We all have inherent faith on our sense organs. There we never question. But all I am asking you is place the Veda also at the same level as your sense organs. Can you do that?
That is true. I mean,
That is at least whatever it says. In fact, another person has asked somewhat similar question here. He is saying that there are human beings living in Pluto. Is this truth? Because it cannot be negated or disproved, he is saying. But it can be negated or disproved. Right? Already Voyager has gone up to Pluto, I think. We didn't find any evidence of human being there. So this is a negatable statement, and also whether whoever is making this statement may not be an apta or a reliable source. So we don't have to take it as truth, or many inferences also can be made to disprove this. So I don't think this is knowledge. That way we will reject it as not knowledge. But whatever the Veda says cannot be negated, definitely. It is not illogical, but it is not logical also. Okay? It is beyond logic is what we say. Whether somebody can accept whatever is beyond logic or not is up to you.
So what is the goal? Where are we going towards this goal?
The goal is that ultimately everybody's goal is to be happy, correct?
Right. Right.
So happiness alone is the purushartha for everybody.
So where
So
was
the goal is
all
how
of
can
this
we make everybody happy?
So where was happiness in all of this conversation?
It is not at all there. That's what I said. That is because I addressed a different kind of topic, a different kind of
You should
audience.
attend the talk
But
tomorrow.
the main, whatever you ask is the most important question. Let me answer that a bit. Because goal of everybody is to be happy. But then our experience is that I am happy sometimes, but I am not happy sometimes also. Correct? That is the universal experience. So that means there is some analysis needs to be done why I am unhappy with myself. Or even sometimes I am coveting something desperately. After achieving it, it is no more great. Correct? Couple of days you have a high, and then you are off to something else. So that means I am not able to say that having achieved something, I am totally satisfied with myself. The satisfaction is lacking. Means that's where we have to understand, is there any other fundamental problem or something fundamentally which I am missing about myself. So when you look at yourself, the Veda says that fundamentally the problem is that you are a limited person. In your own vision, you are limited in every way, correct? Because I have limited whatever maybe my power and all that, but
You have certain limits.
body-wise, time-wise, space-wise, the ability to enjoy, everything I am limited. That limitation I am not able to accept inherently. That's why I am all the time, I am becoming something in the hope that by becoming something I will be totally satisfied with myself, but that never happens. That is what is called samsara. Samyak sarati means you keep on going from one thing to another, or a life of becoming. Now the whole teaching is how to stop a life of becoming, by showing you that you are not at all limited to start with. That notion that I am limited itself is a mistaken notion. In reality, you are the limitless conscious being who does not lack anything. You are Purna. That's why the Purna Madaha, Purna Midam and all we are saying. Your Swarupa is a Purna Swarupa. Therefore, you don't lack anything. But then you say, no, I am still feeling I am lacking something. Then you have to learn about that. That's the whole pursuit there. That's the teaching is about making you discover your own limitlessness.
When you say Vyavarika Satya and Paramarthika Satya, if Satya can be only one, then how you can distinguish as Vyavarika Satya and Paramarthika Satya?
That is only teaching. For teaching purposes, we give an allowance there. Because we are not denying perception. Perception is there. See, there is even a question that if the Veda is talking about oneness and Advaita and all that, does it not contradict with the sensory perception, which is differentiating everything, correct? But there also they say it doesn't differentiate, it does not contradict, because sensory perception is only reporting to you certain qualities which are there in different objects, right? It doesn't tell you the reality of each and every object or what is the substance. So it is like saying there are hundreds of waves, and ocean also is there, but everything is water, correct? So the Veda is trying to show you that you are really water, whether you are wave or ocean or big wave or small wave, it doesn't really matter. Those are all names and forms. And your reality is different. And all your confusion is because you are taking the object of your knowledge as yourself. That also I said, correct? That is the fundamental error.
But when you take object and subject, like consider object and subject separately, then the dualism comes in. It's normal.
That's why the object becomes mithya, correct? Object keeps on changing. Subject alone is satyam, or the very nature of the subject alone is satyam.
Yeah,
in fact, subject object both are mithya, because the status of being a subject also is dependent on object, correct? It's a mutually dependent thing. So we are saying you are the reality who supports both the subject and object. Whether you study the object or study the subject, you will arrive at the same reality. That is one reality.
So you're saying that what I can perceive as an object is Vidya, and what I cannot perceive as Brahman is Atma.
Because you don't have to perceive it as an object. It is you already, correct? You cannot deny yourself, no? The only thing you cannot negate is yourself. And that alone is Satyam, I am saying. Everything else you can negate. Yeah, that is the teaching. That Aham Brahmasmi is the teaching, correct?
So going back to Jay's question, so Jay, the age of the universe is 13.8 billion years. That Jay is like, I tried for months, I've turned out every single book. No, like just the beauty of logic actually. 13.8, just because of this discussion, it occurred to me like 13.8 billion years of time with respect to what reference frame is this measured? No, that's not in length. But you know that the time is progressing differently, for example, depending on the gravity, right? Like for example, if right next to a black hole if you're sitting, time doesn't progress for you. But for me, on Earth, time progresses at 1 second per 1 second wave, right? So these 13.8 billion years are with respect to which frame of reference? What gravity is this 13.8? I don't know the book you mentioned.
Correct. May not have mentioned. Even I have heard that number myself.
Yeah. And then what is the age of that singularity before that? Like, okay, for the longest time, at least like, no one can tell what happened for the first, I don't remember the exact number now, but after the Big Bang also, for the shortest duration, no one knows what exactly happened, right? We don't know. Right, you cannot tell that. Or 1/10 of minus 64 second or something, some crazy number they say that is like, physics cannot tell what happened during that time. Okay, even the singularity, if you want to start counting time, of course, time came into existence only after the 10 power minus 64 second after the Big Bang is what they say, right? So how long before that? Science cannot even answer that, right?
No, but I think there might be a misinterpretation of the word Yuga. I tried that out. I tried the Telugu meaning for Yuga for 6 years, which is our side. It doesn't fit. If you take the actual Yuga Pramana given in the Vedas, 432,000 years for this Yuga.
Correct.
Double for the one before, double for that one before, and double for that one before. That makes it around some weird astronomical number. God is if you look, so that Yuga has become one Mahayuga, 43 lakh years, I think, per year. That Mahayuga, 71 Mahayuga has become one
Manvantara.
The whole idea, right? So if you back calculate, saying that we have the 28 Mahayuga of the 31 Manvantara, the numbers don't add up. It's off by orders of magnitude.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But if I were to assume that this frame of reference with which Vedas are in, and not like, and not in.
Oh, you have to question it.
You have to. Right. So, if the frame of reference is actually like close to zero gravity, then for them the time would have passed much, like the way you measure the time.
Much slower, he is saying, so that the bigger number will come into the picture.
Right. So, for like the gravity were to be
Because we don't know the frame of reference. The frame of reference we are going by is on earth. But maybe the Veda, which was told by someone, I don't know who, like a Purusha, I understand that. But whatever the source of reference taken by Veda is not the same source of reference, frame of reference taken by us. Maybe this discrepancy is coming from there.
Everything we are doing today is wrong. It's a difference because everything has reached, right? So in that case, then it was the debate would explain to me the state convention. This is my grandmother's position, not mine. You know, we look at the Hindu gods, we say Sadashiva, there's no Sada, Vishnu, Sada. The one who's always there is Shiva. We call him Kala, or the names are always there, right? They always exist. So that is time. You look at the Vishnu Sahasranama, logically the first name should be Vishnu, but it's not. It's Vishnu, which is the universe. So he is everywhere. So one that is everywhere is Vishnu, and one that is always there is Shiva. So that is the state and continuum that as we always talk about. It is so weird, like when I think of Vishnu Sahasranama, I was like, wow, Vishnu Sahasranama, the first name should be Vishnu. No. The first name is Vishnu. The second name is Vishnu. In the 1,000 names, the first is Vishnu and the second is Vishnu. So that's how when you're growing up and I'm so actually I grew up in a household that taught everything, but in a way it was that kind of that opened up all sorts of questions, and then you have to do your own research. The problem is from everything that has been told has been written and written out in so many different forms and shapes that it's very hard. But I think one has to do their own research and not take my word for it or anybody's word for it, and that is the whole point of it. So
yeah, see, these details and all can be questioned. In fact, that I'm only just giving you what is there, the traditional understanding of certain things. As I told you, the Tatparya is even not there in all these details. The actual teaching is to only tell you the reality, the one reality, to reveal to you that it is yourself and all that. All these things are used only as a mechanism to drive that point. So again, like you can take a charitable view, or you can dismiss it also. It doesn't in the end really matter actually.
Yeah, I think that also the Mahavakya, because it's too short a time. In 2 hours, I think you'll end up with more questions. So, and I'm glad you're questioning. Keep questioning, but I think the only thing is like, it's not about questioning to prove wrong. It's okay to have that mindset, but still have the open mind to
prove it right, not wrong.
Yeah, it's okay.
Either way, so the outcome is not in my hands. You have to do it.
Correct. You can derive it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you keep asking questions and you can derive it. And you, as you said, you have to derive it yourself.
I believe so. I took every course I could, but then I did my own research, and I just can't add the numbers. Something's missing somewhere, and I think it's in the interpretation.
And the problem is, even time is not clear, right? Space and time, although they are like, they're just the manifestation. You can convert space and time into space, not just mass into energy and infinite. That's very easy. But space and time are also interconvertible here. So all the interpretations, the numbers, all we don't even know the frame of reference, how to analyze these numbers. So,
see, right? The problem, the good thing is, if a text can exactly point to where you are in that space and continuum, you're saying that Vidya Parata, Brahman Mantra,
correct. That is mind-boggling.
So it has to be true. It's just that we have to find out where the discrepancy is. Something is wrong somewhere in the chronology of events or in the interpretation. It's just a matter of somebody writing an R01. But it's just that we don't invest our time and money in that matter.
Okay, then we'll.
I don't know if people are there.
Yeah.
Any questions on the chat or?
They are.
Yeah, I think. Okay, we'll close.
Yeah.
With a small prayer maybe. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet, atato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.